That really makes me excited. Mike thinks he wants an RV after we retire. I think I'll just show him the movie. Anyway, good morning. I'm glad you're all here with us. And what a special day. Thank you for the honor and privilege of being able to have that wonderful little baby. So I'm glad you're all here with us this morning. 2 or 3 years ago now, my family was coming out of the mountains and headed to the airport. And we got moved off the highway, off the interstate, because there was an accident that had closed it. And we took off on this little side road that really wasn't much of a road. And well, all I can tell you is, in the words of that Indiana Jones thing, we chose poorly on our very first turn because we got deeper and deeper and deeper into these woods, and there was no sign of a way to get back on the interstate. In fact, I hardly call this little thing more than a trail anyway that we were on. About that time, our daughter pulled out her handy-dandy smartphone and got the GPS on it and said, "Stop, turn around, go back the way we came." So we followed our tracks back because it was snowy. We followed our tracks back, and she said, "Go to the other side of the interstate." So we crossed over the bridge, and we went down a road on the other side. Well, at least for a while, it was kind of on the other side of the interstate. And it still wasn't very clear, but it kept directing us to keep going the way we were going. And we saw a couple of other people, so we checked with them, what should we do? And so they kept helping us. And so finally, we could see the interstate again, and then the GPS showed us that there was going to be a way to access back onto the interstate and get onto the airport. And we did, and we made it in plenty of time, and everything was well and good. But I'll tell you what, had that been a number of years ago, we could have been totally and completely lost, because there was no such thing as a GPS. That's something that really is helpful to us. But I'll also tell you something else. The GPS is not 100% accurate. I have wound up some places that I didn't intend to go, because I put in, maybe I put the address in wrong, but anyway, I wound up someplace different than I intended. And sometimes maps aren't up to date. The information's not accurate, and so it can't get us where we want to go if that's recent information and updated information. Well, my hunch is that probably at one time or another, in one way or another, we have felt lost. Maybe it was in driving the car, maybe it was in walking somewhere, or maybe it was in a hiking kind of thing. And when we feel lost, sometimes panic can set in because we don't know really what to do and where to go from there. Let's take hiking, for example. Suppose that maybe the trail isn't marked quite as clearly as we would like, or maybe we get kind of preoccupied with our thoughts and we're not paying close attention to the trail markings, or maybe we're talking to somebody and not really paying attention at all. And all of a sudden we're someplace and we don't know where we are, and we don't know how to get out of where we are. And so we are kind of panicked. We're not sure what to do next. Well, sometimes we're at that place just in the course of living life. In fact, there's a very real way in which hiking in the woods could be an analogy to the way we live our life, particularly if we're a first-time hiker, because we don't know all the markings, we don't pay attention to things. Well, in a very real way, we are novices when it comes to living our life, because each day can present totally new experiences, things we've never had before, never seen before. And sometimes we can feel lost in the process of that. Now, it's very easy, I think, for us to feel lost. Sometimes we just feel as though we're at loose ends. We're kind of adrift, if you will. We don't have a purpose or a direction. We don't know why we do what we do. We don't know where we're going, for instance. Maybe we've been somebody that's just kind of gone with the flow quite easily, and as a result, we've really felt no drive, no goal, no destination that we were going to try to arrive. Or maybe, in fact, we had a plan, a pretty intentional plan, but we didn't do everything we needed to do to bring that plan into being. We didn't do the preparation, or we didn't do the follow-up. Or maybe we had a passion about something and we really dove into it and we did it to the fullest of our ability, but then somehow it just kind of evaporated, all the energy and the passion that we had, and it just kind of went away and we felt lost. Or maybe this has happened in our relationships. We had this great close relationship, and then it didn't feel quite as close. It didn't quite connect the way it had before. Or maybe a friend let us down, or we moved away from our closest connections, and we didn't really have the support that we usually need to make our way through life. And then there are times that life just overwhelms us and we feel lost. There are too many things on our plate, too many things to try to do, and we just get overwhelmed with everything, and nothing matters. It doesn't seem to count for anything. Or there are times that we just simply don't pay close attention because so many things interrupt our day. There are all these distractions that come to us. And with the technology that we have around us, we're getting news alerts and emails and texts all the time. And so it's hard for us to stay focused and in the present moment. And that can cause us to feel lost as well, that we can't keep a trail, and stay on it and move forward. I suppose it's also very possible that we feel lost spiritually. Maybe there's a time when we felt very sure of ourselves and of our connection with God, and yet somehow maybe God feels distant from us, and maybe we have more questions than we have answers, and we don't really know what to do with that. Well, I can tell you from my own experience, I've been in that place spiritually, and more than once. And I have come to believe that even though it's an unsettled kind of feeling, that it's ultimately an okay thing, because it awakens us in a new way, and maybe we experience life and ourselves and God in a whole different way, in a whole new way. I've come to believe that maybe those times of feeling lost are really part of the journey, part of the spiritual journey, part of the life journey. Well, the Bible passage we have for this morning talks about being lost, and it's from the 15th chapter of Luke's Gospel. And the writer of Luke has Jesus telling 3 stories about someone or something that gets lost. The first one is about a shepherd who loses a sheep. The second one is about a woman who loses a coin. And the third one is probably the one that's most familiar. It's the prodigal son story, about a father whose son goes away and feels lost to him. I've chosen the shortest of those 3 as our Bible passage for today, the story about the woman who loses a coin. This is how it reads. Or imagine a woman who has 10 coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and scour the house, looking in every nook and cranny until she finds it? And when she finds it, you can be sure she'll call her friends and neighbors. Celebrate with me. I found my lost coin. Count on it. That's the kind of party God's angels throw every time one lost soul turns to God. Now, why would she look so frantically for one coin? It was only one coin. She had 9 more. Well, we don't know for sure why, but for some reason she seems to think that coin is vitally important. It wasn't worth much monetarily, at least as far as we know, but she needed all 10 of those. Perhaps she needed them to survive. Or maybe it had some special significance to her for some reason, and she looked high and low until she found it. And then did you notice what happened when she found it? She called her friends and neighbors and said, "Come on, we're going to have a party. That which was lost is found." And that same thing happens with the story of the lost sheep that's found, and with the story of the son who comes home and his father is reunited with him. There is a celebration. There's a line in our Bible passage that says, that's the kind of party God's angels throw every time one lost soul turns to God. Now, I kind of wish that Eugene Peterson, who's the person who put together the message, hadn't used the terminology lost soul, because that's a term that sometimes some church people use to describe someone they believe isn't believing right or isn't in the right place in terms of their faith or their faith journey. And I've always pushed against that kind of description, because I don't think it's anyone's right to try to judge the spiritual state of another person. We could say for ourselves that we feel lost spiritually and understand what that is, but I don't think it's anybody's call to make that judgment on who we are and where we are in terms of our relationship to God, because nobody else can know what that is except us. And furthermore, even if we feel lost, and even if someone wants to describe us as lost, we're not lost as far as God's concerned. God knows where we are. God is with us always, and God will guide us wherever we go. Well, if we do feel lost, what should we do? What part can we play in trying to be found? Well, maybe some advice from expert hikers would be helpful here, because those who have done a lot of hiking know that, of course, first of all, you have to have all of your equipment. You have to be well prepared to go. But they suggest that even if we have everything and get lost, that we do one of 2 things. The first one is we stop and stay exactly where we are and not try to keep going on. The other one is to retrace our steps and try to get back to where we went wrong. And those can apply as well if we see ourselves lost in life too. Because sometimes it's really helpful if we kind of stop and take a break and reassess and try to calm ourselves, to try to reflect and consider as carefully as we can how we got to where we are and what we can do now that we're here. And sometimes it just takes that bit of calmness, and then we'll have the sense of being found and being okay. The other one is also a good idea because we can go back and try to track where we've been and to see where we got off base, where we took the wrong road or went the wrong way, or the way that didn't turn out to move us the best way along. And then we can take it right and move the right direction if we do that. All I know is that if we are feeling lost, God knows that. God is with us always. God loves us. And God wants only the best for us. I'm convinced of that. And if we have that understanding deep in our hearts and minds and spirits, then I think we really are found. We're home. Let's count on it.